Hello, I'm the Resolute Cartographer, and this is the story of the Scorching of Enola Walker. Sometime in the late 2080s to the early 2090s, Enola Walker lived on Mac's farm in the northern Cranberry Bog with her dogs. Mac's farm consists of a farmhouse, an old shed with brewing equipment within, and a cranberry bog that today is host to a Mirelurk queen. We don't know too much about Enola Walker's life before the time of the story, other than that she lost a woman named Joan to the bombs, but whether they were married, siblings, or friends is not elaborated on. We also know that she lost her children in an event she refers to as the Drowning. I've seen speculation that this drowning was the Charleston Christmas flood of 2082, but this would be the only reference to that event as the Drowning. Regardless of the nature of those events, this story begins on the day her farmhouse was attacked by the Scorchbeast Queen. The Queen smashed through the rear wall of the house, ate Enola Walker's dogs, and bit her, but neglected to kill her. Though the occasional Scorchbeast had managed to escape Enclave containment in 2084 and 2085, the Queen and the remainder of her brood were truly freed by the order of President Eckhart in 2086. Sometime after this release, the giant bats caught the eye of the Appalachian brother to steal. Formerly known as Taggarty's Thunder, Enola Walker had seen these power-armored soldiers take down the Scorchbeasts, but she noted that this one was different from the rest. Larger, pregnant in appearance, with a strange, almost eyeless, cauliflower-like head. She considered rebuilding the house, but without her dogs it just wasn't worth it. So she settled on a plan. She was going to bring down the beast that had taken her dogs, the last things that had made her life worth living. Knowing that she was likely going to die in the process, she downed all her pain meds, loaded her backpack with explosives to serve as an after-dinnerment for the Queen, and recorded an audio will, giving her farmstead to the first person to come by. She set off towards the General Steakhouse, the last place she had seen the beast headed. On her trip to the old steakhouse, Enola Walker noted that her skin had started peeling and that her eye was endlessly bleeding. Her medication wasn't working. She recorded another log, trying to maintain her state of mind as disorientation began to set in. She continued south along Route 65, following the beast as it seemed to be keeping an eye on her. Her trek brought her to the Bog Town. Once an eroding rural community in the shadow of Watauga to its south, turned headquarters for a group of vehicular-mounted raiders after the bombs, the Bog Town was, by this time, abandoned in total. The few raiders that had been too zonked out to care about living anymore still littered the area as a reminder of what had once been. Enola Walker recorded another log here, noting that Joan, the woman who had died in the bombs, had once long ago wanted to move to the town, back when it was a place where you could buy preserves and antiques. She noted that the beast she hunted could swoop down and easily eat her, but didn't, much to her chagrin as she longed to feed it her pack of explosives. The beast also could have flown on faster than she could have tracked it, leading her without a quarry, but instead it seemed to be guiding her south. Thus, she continued her hunt, as her ears joined her eyes in bleeding. Eventually abandoning Route 65, Enola Walker followed the Queen as she drew her east of Watauga. On the outskirts of the old city of the future, Enola Walker recorded another log of her hunt. In this log she noted how the beast had performed another selective strike on a nest of Mirelurks, biting only one of the mutated crabs. This Mirelurk turned on the rest of its brethren and devoured them. This Mirelurk then approached Enola Walker. She named it Dave, and discovered that she could touch Dave without any fear of attack. As she began to fight hallucinations, Enola Walker and Dave then struck off together, following the Queen yet further south. As the odd pair approached Fissure Prime, she noted that the beast had circled the site, and then dived into the earth. Once the Queen had vanished from sight, Dave began to follow Enola Walker instead, almost like a dog. In a small campsite near the fissure, she recorded another log, warning any who had followed her trail to abandon it, referring to the listener as the long-dead Joan. She led Dave to the nearby elevator, and they rode it into the earth. In the glassed cavern, her condition grew grimmer, her skin, quote, bursting, burning, tight like a shroud, unquote. Her will began to strain, and she dropped her pack of explosives. She discovered in this place many more scorched beasts, and just like Dave, they simply watched her, showing no sign of either animosity or fear. Her mind broke at this point, and she fully transformed. Enola Walker would no longer walk alone. She'd become one with the Scorched. The story of Enola Walker is a sad one to be sure, but it offers many valuable insights into the process of becoming Scorched, the behavior of the Scorched, and the Scorchbeast Queen. Before commenting on that, though, I simply want to say that Enola Walker's uncertainty about the status of Watauga, whether there are people living there or not, is an interesting detail, as it exposes the confusion relating to the fall of Watauga. Outside of those who lived there and witnessed the fall, or those who raided it for supplies, it could well be that no one knew the true fate of the city due to the fall happening so close to the bombs. But that's as far off on that tangent as I want to go. To comment on the process of scorching, we have a list of symptoms now. Peeling skin, bleeding from the eyes and ears, visible and auditory hallucinations, and in the late stages, tight, burning, bursting skin before the inevitable turn. Along with this, Dave appears to have turned almost immediately. While Enola Walker hiked all the way from Mac's farm to the glassed cavern before she changed, Dave gulped down his entire brood right after he was bitten. In terms of behavior, The reaction of Dave to Enola Walker and to the Queen is very interesting. Mirelurks are hostile to humans. Under normal conditions, they cannot be approached safely, yet when scorched, they pose no threat to other scorched organisms, even apparently if that organism has not yet fully turned. Enola Walker received the same non-hostile treatment from the standard scorched beasts in the glass cavern. This reminds me of Ripley in the Xenomorph in Alien 3, when it detects the embryonic alien queen within her and withdraws. The other interesting part of this is that when the Queen is present, Dave follows the Queen. When she's not, Dave follows Enola Walker. Given the hive mind-controlling nature of this condition, it could well be that more intelligent life forms take longer to change and form a higher stratum in the hierarchy of scorched consciousness. Lastly, in terms of the behavior of the Queen herself, she clearly was shepherding Enola Walker safely south. The Queen could have flown off and abandoned her, but instead she looped around her, making sure she had a path to follow. She also deliberately avoids Watauga, leading Enola Walker and Dave around the robots. The Queen would have had no trouble there. The Scorchbeasts have nests high above the city, and she would face no threat from the ground. Conversely, Enola Walker and Dave would have been torn apart by the automated workforce. This makes me wonder, was Enola one of the first scorched humans? The Queen appears to be quite intelligent. She was watching over her, making sure she made it. She may have been experimenting and wanted to see the results. The Brotherhood were too dangerous to confront directly and still get away with an infected individual, given their anti-air turrets, power armor, and miniguns. Watauga had been human-free for over a decade, and the raiders of the Bog Town had either moved on or had overdosed years prior. Enola Walker could have been the closest, easiest target for the Queen. This leads me to another interesting consideration. Was Enola Walker's hunt for the Queen of her own free will, or a rationalization of her new drive to trail the highest level of the scorched consciousness? She certainly had legitimate reasons to desire revenge, but could it be that this was simply the first step into her fate? With those questions raised, I think that'll do it for the story of Enola Walker. This has been the Irresolute Cartographer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.